Okay, let's go over how your peer reviews are going to work every week. So again, remember, I'm trying to get you used to using an online peer review and journal system, because this is where all these scientific journals are pretty much going nowadays. When I get called in to do a peer review, I have to go log into that journal website, create an account like hopefully you've already done now or will do for this assignment. And then I go through the peer review process. So each week, hopefully by early Monday morning, I will be assigning you the peer reviews that you need to do that week. If you have it set up on your user profile that you want to get notifications when I do that, you should get an email. You might have to check your spam and mark the emails that are sent as good or fine, because they are auto sent or auto generated. So it can look a little weird to spam filters, especially with Google. Their spam filters can go a little nuts. So keep that in mind. If you're losing it and you want to know when your peer reviews are available, set this up to whitelist these emails. It'll come from me. Let me see if I can find you one that looks sort of like, here we go. This is what the article review request will look like. So it's got this IJSE in brackets, article review request. It'll come from me via these open journal systems. And then the response email will be journals@tdl.org. Now, if you try to respond to this, it won't go anywhere. So don't do that. But it'll give you information. It'll give you the link directly to the journal here. It'll come from me. And then it will give you the abstract of that journal. So you should get notification if you have it set up right. If you don't want those notifications, that's fine. But make sure you're logging in and checking for your journal. So what you want to do is if you click that link, it'll take you directly to this. It'll take you to the journal. Now, if you are not logged in, it'll take you here to log you in. So you'll log in. This is my Testerson. You'll log in, view your profile, whatever else. But when you log in, you'll see this little 1 or 2 or 3. That gives you an indication of how many papers are there for you to deal with. So you're going to go to the dashboard and you should see your queue. So in this case, I've only assigned one paper, and the due dates will be the dates when they're supposed to be done with your review assignment. So it'll have a response due and a review due, all that sort of stuff. Basically, the way that these reviews work is you'll get an email saying, hey, I'd like you to review. You need to log in and respond like, yes, I'll review. And then you do the review, you upload it, and you submit it. So it'll have a little exclamation point here if you haven't responded to it yet. So you click on that. It'll give you the name or the title of the paper. It'll give you the abstract. You can click on here to see all of the submission details. Is basically just the abstract again, or whatever else the authors have uploaded for you. And then the due dates, if there's information you need on it, these due dates should correspond with when your review is due. Remember, you've got about a week to get it done. And then you're going to click yes. So this data collection, this is just your email address, and so that I can keep track of when you are actually getting your work done so you can get points. If you are worried about this, I do have the privacy statement here. At the end of every semester, I delete all of your saved information like this, other than your actual profile, in case you want to submit more stuff for review or get back on here. So the privacy statement, they take a lot of privacy very quickly. This is an open access journal, and they really want you to know that your data is private. We don't sell it to anything or anything like that, because that would be illegal. So there we are. Now, you have two buttons here. If you decline to do the review request, you can click that, but then you won't get your points. So accept the review, click to step 2. And then this will give you some basic guidelines. You'll see this every single time, but it is a general overview. So by the time you do this a few times, you'll be great, fine, yes. But this is the basic introduction and the basic instructions for how to do this review. Also, if you're hearing crunching in the background, that's my dog eating his dinner. He has to be hidden from his brother because his brother eats all the food. Anyhow, so then you're going to click to step 3, and then this gives you all the guidelines, the actual paper, and all that sort of stuff. So this is what you need to fill in. If you log this down or click on that, that will give you your directions. Here's the review guidelines, what I expect you to do each time. Okay, so I want you to start out by giving a quick overview of the paper. Write down the essential points as you understand them, all that sort of stuff. This is designed to train you to pull out the most important concepts from that paper. These are the things like the big takeaways, the take-home information for each paper. Then go through and check that all these are there. Is there a good title? Is it adequate for the content? Is it informative, concise, clear? Yes, no, whatever. The abstract, the references, all the things are there. Then write your basic review about each one of these things. So for this one, say the title is a little weird on this one, if you notice that. Okay, so let me pull that up one more time. So the effect of leaving Bluetooth setting on. That's a really strange way to write that title. That can be crafted better. So right in here, the title is a little iffy. Don't, end a title with the word on. That's strange. Go through all the different parts. Is the abstract good? Are the references good? Et cetera, et cetera. And then you're going to assess the article given these things. First and foremost, you're going to look at the scientific method. So looking at this article, did the author actually follow the scientific method the way that you understand it? Or is this just a mess of an article? If you get a paper that isn't necessarily a scientific paper, it's more of a letter to the editor or something like that, you can write that in there. That's fine. Then answer this question. Is it a novel? Is it an original? Is there enough replications? Or if it is a replication of the work, did they do replications well? What's going on there? Is it an important? What is the impact? Is this relevant? All those sorts of things. And then finally, is it complete? So did they actually run the experiment and then draw conclusions? Or did they just sort of half-ass it? One of the two. Finally, you're going to summarize your evaluation. This is going to be very, very helpful later on in the semester when you get all these papers back for editing, because you will get every peer reviewer's summary to say like, no, this is an awful paper, or no, this is actually pretty good. It might need 1 or 2 points fixed, or maybe it needs to expand the introduction or something, but you get the information there. This also is helpful if you need to remember about this paper. Let's say I assign you this paper and you edited it at the very beginning of the semester and you have no memory of it. Write down information here that will remind yourself of was this a good paper, was it a bad paper, what needs to be changed, what needs to be added to make it publishable. Are we going to need significant input? Are you going to actually have to write an entirely new introduction? Perfectly reasonable to do. Or is it, no, this is perfect, you just need a little bit of editorial work and you'll be good to go. So write that there. Then you've got this drop-down box. This drop-down box tells you if you think, and it's basically telling me, do you think this could become publishable? Is it publishable the way it is or whatever? So the first one is it should be accepted without revision. This is probably the most rare and the best thing you could possibly get when you submit your paper for possible publication is it's accepted without revision. You don't have to change anything. It's perfect the way it is. This doesn't happen very often at all. In fact, even professional scientists, we hope for this, but it almost never happens. That would be a miracle. Okay, so if you think it's perfect the way it is, choose that one. You can go a little bit further where maybe it's only a little bit of formatting issues or some grammatical issues or spelling, very, very minor revisions. So you don't have to add in any type of substance to the paper to make it publishable. Cool. Up next, third, maybe you have to tweak a few things. So up here, if maybe you notice like, oh, they need 1 extra paragraph on this subject, or they didn't really go into the literature too well, or by reading their paper, I noticed they missed a really big takeaway. that is stuff that you as the editor can add for this particular journal. So write that. And then you can say, well, minor revisions and outlined as the reviewer above. This is how can make it good. Major revisions. This means that a lot needs to be changed. This is appropriate for those papers where maybe the authors have a really good paper, a really good scientific project, but they didn't do a good intro. You'll find some of these papers are insane like that. They'll be like, okay, I did this massive project. My introduction is 2 lines. That's it. No, that's not going to work. So you can say, well, it needs major revisions. So whoever takes this on will need to write a full intro. Or maybe they forgot to put in an abstract. Or I think there's 1 or 2 in here where they just don't even have a title. They need a title, that sort of thing. So that's a major revision. So anybody who gets assigned that will have to put some substantial work into making it publishable. And then finally, this is a completely unacceptable paper. It is not... No matter how much you change it, it's not going to become publishable. Maybe they didn't bother to actually collect any data. It's not negative data, it's just no data. I think there's 1 or 2 in here that are that bad. It's really awful. Where they just said, hey, I like bugs. And then they sent it in for publication, I guess? I don't know. Weird stuff happened. So you can say, no matter how much work you put in, there's no way to make it publishable at all. Use this one sparingly because most of this stuff, if you add in a few paragraphs here and there, if you tweak it as you're learning how this semester, then you'll be able to make it publishable. This is for things that nobody should touch at all, ever. It's not a good paper. There was one paper a couple of semesters ago where they actually submitted it for publication. It was half a page. The title was called Title. There was no other words. It was just title. And there was no abstract. The intro was 1 sentence saying something about flies. And then the whole rest of the paper wasn't about flies at all. I don't know why they did that. And then the materials and methods was 1 sentence. Their discussion was half a paragraph. It had an sort of an intro sentence, but then nothing else. And then they had 15 references that they didn't do any in-paper citations for. It was a mess. That's the type of thing I'm thinking about for this. This is unacceptable for publication. So that's what you do there. Now, this is where you want to justify your decision. So here, I want to see that you're actually making this decision on purpose. Give me a paragraph or 2 that states, okay, this is why I think it's unpublishable. Or, yes, this is what needs to be changed. You didn't go in depth enough in this intro. If we add 2 or 3 paragraphs here, there, and this other thing, then it'll be fine. You really go in depth because I'm going to be using this to give you your points. So I want to know that you understand what is good and understand what is bad about this paper or what needs to be changed. Also keep in mind, the authors will see these things. It is a blind review, so they won't know your name, but they will see these things because what we're also trying to do is help those writers, these authors, get better. So give the type of feedback you want to get. So when I'm grading your papers, I'm going to be giving you a lot of feedback. Remember how annoying it can be when there's no feedback, where it's just something like, it was bad. Like, well, how? I need to fix this. How is it going to get better? Make sure you're giving the type of feedback that you want from me. You're helping these students learn how to write. And in a couple of years, a lot of these students will be in your exact seat in this class doing this exact thing. So the better or the earlier they get this information, the better off they're going to be. Finally, you can upload a file. So what I personally like doing when I'm reviewing is you can turn on track changes. So the way that you do that in Word is if you go to review right here, you can turn on track changes right there. And that means anything that you change gets marked like this. So it'll have that little red underline. You can add comments in places, that sort of thing. And then you can save this and upload it here under these reviewer files. This will help you immensely later on down the line. So as you find, different formatting issues or spelling errors or grammatical things or things that need to be reworded to make them flow better, something like that. Change it on the paper, upload it here, and then at the end of the semester, when you get given one of these papers, you will have your files there already ready to go, plus all the files that other peer reviewers used. So you can get a whole bunch of people interested in or give their input in this paper, and it'll make your editing process much easier. So then you can focus on content, on adding stuff that needs to be added to make it a really good paper. Now, these discussions here, this is a place that has become more and more common in online journal publication. This allows you to speak to me as the editor, or you to speak to other reviewers who are going to read this. And you can just basically give a little email saying, hey, this is what I thought, or this didn't get added into the review because I didn't want the author to read it, but here's some information. So the authors don't see this. This is just for the editors. So if this is something where you need to leave me a message on this particular paper, like never ever make anyone else read this, this was a nightmare, let me know. Or if you want to leave a message for yourself or for future reviewers, leave it here. And you guys can go back and forth. You can upload files here, all that sort of stuff. So very, very common. And then you've got your recommendation. So this recommendation will populate a list that I and other reviewers see. So you can choose one of these. Do you choose to accept this submission? This is appropriate if there's really not much at all that needs to be changed. So it's maybe these first two, except for publication without revision or very, very minor revisions. So then you accept it for publication. This makes it easy for you to go back into your reviews and say, when I'm asking you which one of these you want to actually edit at the end of the semester for publication. This will have this fully populated list. You'll have a whole list of things that you accepted, things that you thought revisions were required, resubmit for review, resubmit elsewhere, decline, or see comments. That's always scary. So accepting submission, that will indicate to me and to you in the future that, yeah, you know what? You can make this one work. It might take a little bit of extra editing or a little bit of extra content, but you can make it work. Revisions required usually means it's going to take some substantial stuff. These other ones are common in online journals. If somebody has sent in a paper where it's just not... it's not great. It takes substantial updating. So we're talking, major revisions or unacceptable for publication. These two. If you decide that it can be resubmitted for review, this is something where you can say, well, it needs major revisions or it's unacceptable for publication. But if we kick it back to the authors, maybe they can spend a month and resubmit it, and then next year's class can reread it if they make all these changes that you felt. So in that case, if anything that is resubmit for review will not be chosen this semester, likely. I will try to cull all those out, and hopefully we'll have enough where revisions are required or you accept the submission. Fine. Resubmit elsewhere. This is something that you won't really use on this in this journal because we take all student research, but it's very, very common in scientific journals, in professional publications. So I wanted to leave it here. This means that the publication just didn't quite meet our needs. So in this case, it's all student work, whatever. When I'm doing my work for the Journal of MedEnt or the Journal of Forensic Entomology, let's say it's Journal of Forensic Entomology, I get a paper and it has nothing to do with entomology or forensics. Nothing, like it's a botany paper on something. Then I would say, well, it's a fine paper, but it doesn't belong in this journal. It needs to go to a botany journal, needs to go elsewhere. And then you can leave them a message saying, hey, it's a great paper. Send it to maybe one of these other journals. So that is a possibility. Just ignore that one for the purposes of this class. The declined submission, that means there is no helping this paper. It is nope. No way in hell. Not even with substantial revisions, not even with gun to your head, nothing. So you can decline the submission, and I'll go through and see if it's truly something that needs to be declined. That paper I told you about a couple of minutes ago, where it was just like 1 page at max, that was a declined submission. There's no way any amount of our editing and content inclusion is going to fix that thing. And then see comments is something where you're not quite sure. Maybe it's not really revisions required. Maybe it's not accept submission, or you don't know. So you can leave some comments and you can say, well, maybe it needs to be, these things need to be added. I don't know if that's possible or not. Okay. So once you go through all of this, you'll fill in every single box, you'll make sure everything is checked, whatever. Then you have to click submit review. So once you submit this review, you click, are you sure you want to submit this review? Click OK. I will get a message saying that you've submitted the review. Now notice here, it says, please fill in the required fields, because I did not fill in any of this. So let me fill in the required fields. So if you're missing a field or something, it will give you that. Then you submit the review. And then you'll get this little prompt saying, thank you so much. You're good to go. You can add a discussion here if you want to, if you thought of something else, whatever else. I get an email after that point that you are now done, that you have finished your review, and this is how I'm going to give you points this semester. So I will get that email. I will get that notification saying that you finished the review, and I can give you your points. So you must click that finish the review, submit the review in order to get points. If you forget to do that, you won't get your points for that week. All right. So that's the way that the reviews are going to work this semester. You'll be able to go on into your dashboard right here and see things. Oh, that came weird. You'll be able to go to your dashboard and see things that you need to do. You'll have your little task button. You can delete your tasks, mark as red, whatever else, to keep things organized. But this is what you'll be doing every single week. So your very first review should be up. Go on and start to look at it, and let me know if you have any questions.